All right, we are back for our third annual Australian tour for Mining Now. We're filming at IMARC in Sydney, and we've got a very interesting company on today. Their name is PHNXX. We've got their co-founder and CEO, Joel Tay. Joel, welcome to the show. Great. I booked this episode, so I'm quite excited.
Awesome. It's good to be on your show.
Yeah, you've got, your product's literally playing in the background, so I don't know if you need me for this interview. We just need to show the audience what it is and go away. But how long is when did you found the company?
The company was founded at the end of 22, early 23. So we're about a year and a half old, a year, 10 months, give or take.
Wow.
So, yeah.
What's the story behind the development of it? It's an amazing product. Of course, we're going to get into it, but...
So our background, or the previous company I had, was actually in fuel systems. We did containerized fueling systems all throughout the world in mining, construction, aviation, assets, in Rio Tinto, BHP in the mines, service stations across the Middle East. And the concept was around containerized systems that you could move, modules that you could clip together to create larger fuel farms or aviation facilities and stuff. And from there, we saw a need in the market, I guess, as the world transitions towards net zero, to move from your fossil fuels basically into the green space. And from our background in that space, we saw a need, where between solar farms as well as rooftop solar, there seems to be a missing middle. Where you have assets that could rapidly deploy to power small farms, to power mines, for example, diesel replacement for the use of water pumping assets and that sort of stuff. And even a lot of use cases where you can't have fixed assets sitting on ground for years and years on end because maybe the land's rental or rented, or you might only have a deployment, for example, construction, right, where you're only there for like 2 years or 5 years. And that kind of use case where fixed systems don't work, this is where our systems come in, where a small crew of 3 to 5 people could deploy a single container in 3 to 4 hours. And you could do that, and you can grow, I guess, scale the units as you need to get the power demands that you need for what you need on site.
Wow, what has the response been to this? At an event like IMARC, you must be getting a ton of people stopping.
Yeah, we get getting good inquiries at the moment. Our background was, we started basically in the ag space here in Victoria. So we're actually a company that's been funded by Engie, the French power company. So we're actually one of the startups under Engie. So our initial beachhead market working with Engie was looking at ag in Australia. So working with dairy farmers primarily, looking at how we can provide power to obviously farms and stuff, edge of grid operations here in Victoria. From there, we've actually started branching the construction and mining back into, I guess, where we used to do a lot of work and understanding the needs of miners and stuff at remote sites, rural communities. Those are the places where you see a lot of issues, a lot of diesel use, and a lot of problems around the decarbonization piece on the sites.
Just quickly, obviously we're here to talk about mining, but on the agriculture side, is that just, what is the use case for that?
So in a lot of cases, for example, like in Australia, huge landmass, small population, the grid's not very stable a lot of times, especially across summer and winter when you have strong winds and weather events and stuff. So typically when power goes out, power companies would start providing power or restoring power, if you back to your urban communities first. So a lot of people on the edge of grid type scenario gets left out. So farmers could be without power for days on end or weeks on end and stuff. And with dairy farming especially, you got to milk cows every single day or the cows fall sick. So with them not having power is a major problem. So where we see then opportunities here is actually working with DLL, which is part of Rabobank. So the equipment financing arm of Rabobank, world's largest agricultural bank. As their preferred supplier, we go to farmers and go, you know what? What we'll do is you will pay your power bill. Today's power bill, we'll lock it in for 10 years. And in this 10 years, there's no price increase, there's nothing. At the end of 10 years, DLL will work with us to finance this asset, and the asset is yours at the end of 10 years. And you still have 15, 20 years for the asset to use the asset. It's free power after that.
Wow.
Right? So it's a very compelling story that we're actually able to offer farmers now the equivalent of what they're paying today. Because in Australia at the moment, every year there's like a 20, 30, 40% year-on-year increase in power prices because of all the different, the war in Ukraine and power shortage and energy shortage and stuff. So a lot of farmers are hit by this, increasing power from year to year. So what we do is actually very, very interesting with DLL here in this space. And we're trying to do the same thing in construction and mining as well, whether offering them a finance package or lease the assets out to them, because a lot of these applications are shorter term. So we could do rental systems. It's kind of like a diesel genset, just that it's green. You can rent it when you need to, you can lease it, you can have it for 5 years, 10 years, you can have it forever. That's what we're trying to do here.
Let's talk about our heavy industry tour brought to you by Orica Digital Solutions, leading drill and blast into a new era with next-gen Shot Plus. With market-leading design tools and predictive modeling capabilities, next-gen Shot Plus equips drill and blast professionals to effectively improve blast designs and achieve optimal outcomes. Click below to learn more about next-gen Shot Plus. We are heading to events across North America and Australia and filming episodes on location. Email us at info@crownsman.com to be part of Crownsman's Heavy Industry Tour. As heavy machinery specialists for mining, SMS Equipment knows performance, like the performance they achieve together in a partnership dedicated to the success of their mining customers. At SMS Equipment, they're more than machines from trusted brands. They're the people beside you today and every day, bringing industry-leading technology and expertise to your mining operation. Because the right partnership makes everything possible. SMS Equipment, partners in your possibilities. Discover what's possible at smsequipment.com. SafeGauge specializes in innovative safety solutions, ensuring precision and reliability when conducting routine heavy vehicle maintenance. Their award-winning Safe Test range ensures workplace safety and efficiency. Their technology allows live testing to be completed up to 100 meters away, removing technicians from the line of fire and eliminating live work. SafeGauge, work smart, stay safe. Visit safegauge.com today. Who is Savannah Equipment? Savannah Equipment Limited is a buyer and seller of new, used, and refurbished industrial equipment with a focus on mining and construction. They find, market, and sell surplus and used equipment. Does the equipment need work? They can refurbish. Is there something you can't find? They source those hard-to-find items. Selling equipment? They buy, consign, and broker equipment and asset packages. Need equipment moved? Savannah Equipment manages logistics for worldwide delivery. Surface and underground ore processing, concentrating and refining plants and equipment, power generation and electrical, pump, material handling, alluvial placer, gold mining, recycling, and much more. If you need to buy, sell, find, refurbish, or move equipment, you need Savannah Equipment. Savannah Equipment, more equipment every day. Visit them at savannahEquipment.com.
And in the mining space, what are some specific applications that you think this could be a really good fit? Like size of mine, type of operation, area, things like that.
When we look at our modular standalone power system, initially what we're targeting is more in terms of, say, for example, site offices. In mining, it could be your combination camps and stuff. So not looking at huge processing plants. We are probably not too keen at the moment at the stage of where we are to go into building huge solar farms and stuff, but rather we're looking at diesel genset replacement operations all across mining. So it could be water pumping applications, for example, where you have remote water pumps that sits outside being run by a diesel genset. That would be an awesome use case for us, because obviously diesel water don't go very well. You can't have diesel spills into waterways and stuff. So going green is a big thing for a lot of mines. Smaller mines, for example, where they would, instead of like the Rios and BHPs and stuff, they have big gas power plants, right, that power their facilities. But smaller mines don't have that capability up in North Queensland, for example, or the gold mines in Karratha. So really then for us to drop our assets in and replace diesel genset. And again, it's not 100% replacement. We might say, even if you take out 80% or 90% of diesel use, that's a big win for us, right? You're still going to have a diesel genset there for backup power. We can't get away from that now at the moment. But that's the space that we think we should be in. And obviously remote construction, as you build new infrastructure, as you build equipment, you got weeks or months or years of people on site and stuff, powering assets like this that then could be removed to the next construction site is what we're looking at.
Well, what are some of the questions you've got at an event like IMARC? Are you noticing any sort of consistency in what people are asking you?
Yeah. So again, it goes back, I think there's a lot of people in the water space that's interested, looking at how you replace diesel gensets. For use of water pumps and stuff. So we've had quite a few inquiries from water pumping companies here, right, to look at how they can work together or do a pilot trial to prove that, a use case where you have, yes, diesel is a backup, but the primary means of power generation is actually solar and battery systems, right? And looking at how we can actually start taking the step to decarbonization in space. And obviously the other aspect would be like camps and stuff, where you have primary infrastructure, your modular cams all made from containers. So can we deploy 1, 2, 3, or 4 just to power a small camp and stuff?
Right. Wow. the scalability of this, I mean, it almost seems like it's so obvious, but I'll still ask it. Basically, you have as many units as you need, right?
Pretty much. So it's like Lego, right? You have multiple building blocks, right? Instead of different colors, we have different units of various sizes and stuff, and really you can build the system you want. So our customization is not so much in the module itself, but actually how you put the modules together. So you have standard modules that you then piece together to try to create the energy mix you want, depending on, I guess, your power use case. Do you use power at night? Do you need a larger battery? Do you need more backup, for example? So yeah.
Like just if you're talking about a pumping system, looking at these units, like how many panels are to a I guess a can essentially.
So we go from our smallest units go from 36 kilowatts, 36 kilowatt peak of solar panels, all the way up to, in a single container, about 90 plus kilowatt peak. So again, it goes back to the size of pumps, how often you run the pumps and stuff, right? But we could actually cater to that. We could have containers this with solar and batteries in them. We could have containers just solar by itself. We could have containers that you mix, your battery and solar mix to create the requirement that you need. So we go all the way from the really big stuff to the really small stuff as well. We even got systems on wheels, for example, little trailers you can pull around, on a farm, for example, or exploration sites and stuff, right? For small water pumping, there's really small pumps, for
Are
example.
these micro modules that I see on this slide?
Yeah. Yeah, so the micro modules, we call them the grid on wheels. So we got off your grid in a box, right? The things in containers, but we got grid on wheels that you could have even for construction, for example, mine sites, you could mount things like lights on them, CCTV, security cameras, exploration crews when they go out to do exploration. They could bring this with them. It's a trailer, so basically drag it on the back of a ute or utility vehicle, and you move it out, and it provides clean power, so it acts as a diesel genset.
Petro-Canada Lubricants leads the charge with cutting-edge lubricants and greases tailored to deliver outstanding equipment protection under severe loads over extreme temperatures and environments. From surface to underground mining, their products ensure maximum uptime and savings, extending drain intervals and boosting productivity. With Petro-Canada Lubricants by your side, expect not just lubricants, but total solutions designed to keep your operation running efficiently and effectively even in the toughest conditions. Learn more at petrocanadalubricants.com. For almost 30 years, SureStrike International has been delivering high-quality hydraulic impact hammers. Whether you are in aggregate, mining, or industrial applications, they help provide superior output, process flexibility, and remarkable economics in your front-end processing. With hammers ranging from 25,000 to a staggering 150,000 foot-pound of striking force, SureStrike has the perfect solution for any application. It's time to optimize your front-end processing with SureStrike International. To learn more, visit them at SureStrikeInternational.com. Did you know cementitious binders can be responsible for up to 70% of the total GHG footprint of mine backfilling processes? Now you can replace up to 50% of the binder in your mine backfill operations with Graybond, Graymond's new low-carbon cementitious binder. This lime-based alternative binder maintains a 40 to 70% lower GHG footprint compared to typical cement and can adapt to varying mine conditions without compromising performance. Learn more about Graybond at graybond.com.
Wow. What about the software side of this, like the actual energy management? If you've got extra storage, how it ties into the grid, monitoring things like that, power levels at different points, and all these types of things.
Yep.
How is that integrated into the system?
So interestingly, it's a piece that we've been looking at quite something really interesting that we're quite focused on at the moment. So the energy piece or the software pieces, we're working with a company called Synertech at the moment, right? They're an ASX listed company, our partner that we're looking at creating software for it. So Synertech does, for lack of a better term, AI enhanced advanced microgrid controllers and stuff, right? That's really up there. They do 100%. Basically 99.99% reliability, right, without the use of diesel gensets. So just solar and battery systems that they manage. So we're not in that scale, but we're working with them to create software for us that will do things like what we call the energy management system. So even as I provide power to a farm, to a mine, to a site office, whatever, at any one time, I want to know what power is being produced, how it's being used, right? Is it a pump that's pulling power? Is it a chiller? Is it heat exchanger? And from there, I can get into areas, or we can get into areas like asset management, asset optimization. I can using AI, I can create digital twins looking at multiple farms, for example, and then ascertain how we optimize the process that's being used between farms or between assets on mines and stuff. We go, why is that? Why are those guys doing power so much better than those guys? Are there learnings we can actually then pass on to other clients, for example? Understanding things like, okay, your pump's pulling this today. Why is it doing this now? Something wrong for the last 2 months. It's been pulling that much power. Now it's spiking up. There's something wrong with your pump. You need to get that maintained or serviced, for example. So we can do things like asset optimization, asset servicing and maintenance on rural remote sites. Any breakdown's a problem. So we can actually foretell, right? We can forecast there's going to be a problem here. You need to solve the problem beforehand. So we're trying to build that capability into our hardware suite at the moment, right? And offering financing of it. So I guess it's like how the Apple ecosystem, you've got your iPad, iPhones, you've got your MacBooks and stuff. And then you've got the software layer, iOS, you've got the software that underpins your hardware as they go out, right? And the financing in the background that you could get for your hardware. That's the exact same model we're looking at, right? Having multiple or going out to multiple clients, really reaching out to all the small SMEs, remote sites and stuff, getting the data feeding back, because ultimately on a remote site, any breakdown's a problem. The earlier we can actually adjust, earlier we understand, that helps us. But also with a lot of these, they can start doing things like trading power. I may not use a lot of power in the day. That guy does. I can sell power to him. I can pass power across, and so on and so forth. So it opens up a lot of doors for us, for our clients, for example, right? The software piece and understanding, I should say, if we start doing things like asset and process optimization and stuff, it also improves the efficiencies and the ability for them to actually then forecast any problems they might have. And the final thing is obviously the ESG piece, being able to do reporting and stuff, which is obviously becoming a bigger thing, as we move into understanding how we get carbon credits, are we reporting the right way, scope 1, 2, 3 emissions, having the data to support that, and us being able to verify the data will be a huge thing for companies and players.
When you're talking to people, what do you sort of need to know from them? If someone's watching this and going, okay, is this the right fit? What are you focusing on?
I think the first thing we focus on is, I guess, what the power use is, for them, how they're using power for us to understand. Maybe even taking a step back before that, I think I'll probably need to understand where they're based, right? Like if you're in the middle of a city, for example, that's kind of not our sweet spot because we need the space and stuff, right? But if you're out in that's why I think we're very targeted on rural remote sites, right? Rural remote industrial communities, whether it's a farm, a community, eco-resort, that's probably the first thing you want to know. Do you have space? How tied into the grid are you? What kind of problems are you having? Are you completely off grid, or are you kind of edge of grid, right? That's the sweet spot that we play in. And then from there, it's how do you use power? What's your power used? Are you using a lot more diesel than grid, or is the grid's very unstable there? And from there, we can actually size the system for them, understand how it works, how they use power, and build something that's customized, a solution for them.
In a site like a remote, or like for a workforce, if you put a system like this it's in the right area, is there any reliability issues or anything like that when you're operating on this type of system? Like, for instance, do all of these come with like battery storage and backup and that type of thing, or how does that work?
So we could, obviously, depending on the clients and stuff, and most of the sites already have gensets already producing power, so we could always have a genset as a backup. So a hybrid system, you got solar batteries, and then the genset kicks in when things really fill, or you have days and days of rain, for example, or a weather event, right, that you can't produce power. Then the genset can kick in. So we have automated systems that can do that if necessary. So really, again, I don't say that we will take out diesel completely. I don't think that's possible with the technology we have now, right? It's really, really hard unless you want to pay a lot of money, right? And typically, super critical infrastructure, I understand, not in the space that we're in. So diesel use is still going to continue for a little while more. What we do then is look at the entire system and go, what is the right mix of solar, battery, and diesel to get to the right cost point? And maybe in the future, we can look at things like waste to gas, for example, or hydrogen fuel cells and stuff. And again, our system's actually built to be able to encompass that in the future. So we look at it not as a solar battery system, we look at it as an entire standalone power system that we're trying to both generate, store, and provide power in various forms. And how we built that energy mix is where that's our strong suit.
You were saying when we first met, you were saying about like in weather conditions, another advantage, I just thought we should highlight it, is that if you need to get this out of the weather, it's also easy enough to do. Like you don't need 20 hours just to get it back in its box.
Correct. So the rolling of the asset in and out of the container or all the panels takes about 15-20 minutes. So in reality, if you have a storm coming, and that's why we're also trying to build into our AI capabilities, actually able to predict the weather and stuff, right, through weather events or even forecasting and stuff. So if I know there's a storm coming or, hey, a major hailstorm, I'm actually able to roll all my assets and protect my assets. So close it all the way up, shut the doors, it protects the assets, and when it's over, you can open it back out again, and it's generating power. So a lot of the use cases really is when you look at a storm and stuff, other than panels getting ripped away from the wind, it's actually more debris that's actually hitting panels, smashing panels, destroying your panels and stuff. So from an insurance viewpoint and a safety viewpoint, it works. One other thing we are also looking at for use cases, say here in Australia, even in the US, Canada, is wildfires. So having the ability to actually shut the whole thing, shut the doors, insulate. So we're looking at insulated containers and stuff or systems that we can build. So when the fire front passes through, you can open it back out again, right? The fire front might take, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours to burn through. So you protect your assets, and then when it's over, you can pull it out, and then you can start producing power. So again, there are use cases in disaster relief, in emergency responses, for example. After a hurricane is over, you need on a refugee camp. That's another area that we see a lot of use cases, right? That we could go in and replace gensets on all the sites.
Yeah, well, I was thinking, even in these storms, if you know something's coming, you can set up at strategic locations that but it's boxed up. But then once the storm passes, now that's when the power is needed, right? So now all of a sudden you can have this backup pulling out. It's actually a pretty incredible design. I was curious just where it looks simple because it's designed, it's done. But what was the process of actually getting this to actually be a usable product and be able to set up? And what did you say, 20 minutes, 25 minutes?
Yeah, so it took a while. I mean, we obviously being a startup and stuff, the first, I think, almost 6 months to a year, we're trying to build prototypes, trying to actually ascertain how, we can fold it, looking at where the IP would sit, how we design it so it's harder for people to copy and stuff. I mean, it's not rocket science at the end of the day, but the team is actually, my fellow co-founders and myself have been together for the last eight years or so. As I mentioned earlier, we did fuel farms, we did fuel infrastructure quite a bit, and hydrocarbons, loop. So we used to do big, multi-million liter fuel farms, design and build systems. So mechanical, electrical, control systems, all that, right, on mine sites, on Rio and BHP, for the likes of BP, Shell, that sort of stuff. So our background is in mechanical design, and this came up quite a fair bit in the past when we were on a mine, and they go, can you incorporate, and this is like 10 years ago, right, or give or take somewhere there. They'll be like, can you incorporate solar battery systems of some sort so that we don't have to use diesel, for example, just for ancillary power, or we don't need to have a genset unless the big pumps are running, or when we have an airfield in the middle of nowhere and maybe twice a week we've got a plane going in, just a refuel plane, so I don't want to also have to move diesel just to run a genset to do that. So we started playing around with ideas on how we actually incorporate solar batteries into all this ancillary, hardware. And I guess with advances in technology and battery capability and solar panels, we started going, hey, we actually see a possibility here now of actually fully or almost fully replacing diesel use, right? Or diesel gensets on a lot of those areas and stuff, as long as you got space. So we started coming up with ideas on how you can fold things into containers, how you build stuff, and with our, 8 or 10 years of experience in this space, building special containers and the supply chains we have, and obviously the clientele around the world, we think there's a sweet spot here for us to actually enter.
I was listening to an interview. Now I'm drawing a blank, and I should not be forgetting his name. Very successful investor, but he was talking about that there's all this attention on software and platforms and all that stuff, which is incredible. I mean, there's a reason it is, because it's very valuable. But he was also saying, and the example he used is, well, people are all focused on that. They're sitting on a subway station in New York that's been around for 100 years.
Yeah.
There's real opportunity in real world applications. This has so many applications. This happens to be on mining now. This could be talked about on any show, and it would be applicable to pretty much anything in where there's like disaster, like you're talking, agriculture, disaster relief, construction, remote camps. It just goes on and on. How have you sort of chosen your path as an entrepreneur? How did you get into this this sort of hardware. I know there's a software component, but this hardware space, this real world application.
I think the starting point is all of us mechanical engineers. So anything software and electrical, it's like black magic to us, right? It's kind of like it just happens in the background, right, for a starting point. But in the same like what you just said, I think a lot of focus in decarbonization and efforts, it has been around software. And maybe I'm biased, but software can optimize hardware, but software cannot replace hardware. So for you to do any real, decarbonization to get, to get net zero, to get to net negative, if you would, right, you still need hardware to go out. Whether it's, sucking carbon from the air or solar panels, to replace diesel use, it's all hardware. And some form of hardware is required to drive that. Then the software steps in to optimize that, to build your smarts, if you would, right, and give the brains to the hardware. So that's how we saw the interaction. Again, I guess going back to that whole Apple ecosystem, right, is really getting hardware out to people first, and then building the software layer that sits on top to then optimize their use cases and stuff. That you built this synergy, and that's how we saw it, and that's why we need to start focus on the hardware first. One, because we're mechanical engineers, but two, for us, we felt if you don't have the hardware, then it's pointless building the software because you don't really know what you're doing at the end of the day. But if I have hardware out there that I can reach out to the masses, that worst case, even if the software is not working, the hardware is doing something, right, in terms of decarbonization, right, and that's all there is. That is also one of the biggest challenges, I think, for what we in climate tech called, in terms of getting investors and stuff. A lot of investors, VCs and stuff, really interested in all this, but the focus has been on software for the longest period of time. And getting money in hardware has always been a challenge. It's always been like a taboo thing. If you go to investors and say, I'm a hardware company, right? And you're like, yeah, nah, get away from me. I don't really want to talk to you because I don't understand you, right? Because we're software. Yeah.
Yeah. So with that, it's a very, very true thing. Like it is, and I think there's going to be gaps. I think people are going to be finding more opportunities like you are because there is so much focus and money going that direction. But it's that old thing, the entrepreneur, the heads up entrepreneur, and everybody's going this way, you automatically know to start looking that way. And at what point in your career did you sort of have that? I mean, any sort of entrepreneur, there's something wired in you that's even willing to do it. So where did that sort of start? Is that a growing up thing? Did you hit a point where you go, you know what, I don't want to just have a job?
Well, it's a great question. It just happened for me, really.
I just
snapped one day and just started running around and screaming, and but in reality, it just happened. Like had an opportunity. I think investor approached. I actually got investors in my old company, and then the MD at the point in time was all willing to sign over the company and get investors in, and then he pulled out the last minute. The investors turn around and say, "Do you want to do it on your own then? Right? This idea that we have. Do you want to build it?" I'm like, nah, I just want to go back and work for a Fortune 500 company, and I don't know, at the age of 40, be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. So like, nah, it's more fun being, a startup and entrepreneur and stuff. Why don't you try it and we'll back you? So that kind of started my journey, I guess, on creating my own companies and stuff. So in the past, the fuel company I spoke about, we did fuel systems was one of them, and then this is I guess another one that we're trying to build, and really, it's been a very interesting, exciting journey. I think one thing we're really passionate about what we're doing in terms of PHNXX really is I think, as you say, right, it is tangible. What we do, we can see, right, in terms of net zero, in terms of, I strongly believe, and my co-founders as well, that we are basically the last generation that could make a change. Like, we can't palm this off to the next generation or the generation after that, regardless, if you think climate change, is real. And the thing is, if you don't stop and draw the line here, there's probably no next generation to pass it on anymore. So for us, it's also calling for us that we're trying to do right, we're trying to do good, we're trying to give back, help communities. One thing we want to do, obviously, as we grow, is go into remote communities, places like the islands and stuff, people that have no easy means of power, and actually do something with them as well, right? Because diesel, obviously, look, it's easy to pot around and stuff, but there's a lot of problems with diesel, right? You get a lot of things like noise pollution. You get things like, birth defects of kids and stuff. You get things like respiratory illnesses and stuff through diesel fumes. So the more we can actually help that, it has a social impact to what we do as well. At the same time, there's no second generation or third or fourth we can push this down to. We need to decarbonize now. So for us, it's a calling to go, the more we can do this, the better. And again, everyone's focused on huge solar farms. We're always talking about building wind farms and solar farms. That's all great, right? We need that. And then you talk about rooftop solar and stuff. But there's this huge missing middle, right, that sits in here. You look at all this diesel gensets. We did the math, like in the billions every year of diesel being burned in diesel gensets. And it's really hard because a lot of gensets are meant to be mobile, right? You move them around. So your fixed assets can never solve the problem. So if you have a fixed solar farm, you try to rip it all up and try to move it, you destroy everything. Whereas something like ours it's mobile and stuff, so it fits in that space. It's actually a very niche market we're looking at, but we saw big opportunities there because people are not looking at this.
What do you, just before I let you go, what do you think when you look at your strengths in bringing this to market? What do you think is gives you the edge when you're trying to bring a new product to market? Is there sort of these qualities? And I think all of us have them, right? We know sort of where our, like this, okay, this is, I can't do this, but I can do this, so I'm going to double, triple down on that strength. What is that skill for you?
I think one is insane optimism and passion. You got to be really optimistic as a startup. Things will go wrong. Things always go wrong, right? So you got to be insanely optimistic that this idea is going to fly. But at the same time, it's also be passionate about what you do, because it is that passion that then carries you on days that's bad and stuff. So I think that's one of the key qualities that the team has, is we believe in the mission that obviously we set up for to do. And that's where we see, I guess, us making or leaving a legacy, I guess, to our kids or to the people around us and what we can do, I guess.
So when you're talking about that, does a bad day, where the design's not working, someone uses the word can't, and you can't figure out a way to get around that, do you go home and are you bothered by that, or are you naturally someone that goes, yeah, we'll figure it out tomorrow?
No, it has happened. It has happened in the very initial pilot. We brought it to site, everything was working, we turned it on and things started exploding because there was a software issue. Literally, we had sparks flying out and we were like, oh my God, like we've got like 50 people coming, in 24 hours to come, and someone from the Victorian government's coming to have a look at the whole thing, and what do we do now, right? Like the thing's on fire. Okay, not that bad.
Yeah,
maybe you should edit that part out. But
no,
so we're having problems.
Honestly,
right?
I think it's actually good. I think because everybody goes through this, so that motto of Elon's rockets made it up. It's just the way it is.
And it is about trying. It is about also a lot of times being truthful to people, right? Like don't try to hide. It's a pilot. We are a startup, right? Things will go wrong. So a lot of times don't try to hide the problem. There's a problem, but then how do we solve the problem? So instead of running away and solve the problem first and then work out everything else, right? And people see that you're genuine. People go, yes, you're trying. It's all about trying. If you don't try, I think that's what the problem is. If you try to solve it and be transparent about it, right? So after that one problem, we've not had a problem in the last year or multiple. I think we had 4 or 5 deployments so far. Not a single problem. So after you solve that, people see that you try, and I think a lot of people give you the benefit of doubt at the end of the day, right? As long as you show that you're doing the right thing. So.
Yeah, and that willingness to say, yeah, we tried this and it didn't work. I mean, it is unbelievable how every now and then you'll run into someone who's not, but it's unbelievable how gracious people are. And sometimes people even that you wouldn't expect to be. You think, oh, this person, because they see like, okay, if you run away, if you hide or you try to hide something, now they turn on you. And then the people that you don't think will turn on you because they feel betrayed. But when you're willing to, it is incredible how much support you can give. You must have, just to close it up, you must have a pretty passionate team around you as well.
Yeah, I have a really good team. As I said, the co-founding team has been together for 6 or 8 years now. We started our journey together. Like Wei Chi was my project manager, Ben was my design manager back in the old days, and we came up together to start this because we saw a need. As I said, we saw that missing middle piece, right? But also we're passionate about what we do, and we get on really well. And even in the journey since, we've built a good team, good people coming on. I guess with every company, it's about your people. You got good people, you can make almost anything succeed, right? But you can have the best ideas and stuff with the worst people executing, and you never get anywhere. So for us, it's really about keeping talent, keeping good people, and most importantly, having a lot of fun when you're doing it.
Yeah,
So,
when I first talked to you, I could tell that you were actually excited about this. You wanted to talk about it. It wasn't just business as usual conversation. There was passion behind it, and that's why I was quite excited to do this interview. I'm quite glad that we got to. It's quite short notice. I think we just met like a week or two ago.
Pretty much,
so
yeah.
it was great. Joel, thank you very much. We're going to have a link to the website, and if people can go check it out, your LinkedIn as well. I'm sure people will be reaching out to you. Very exciting to have you on the show. I'm sure we'll be doing something again soon.
Not a problem. Thank you very much. You have a good one.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you everybody for watching. Again, Joel's contact information will be in the description below. A link to their LinkedIn, their website. Go check it out. Make sure to subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Please if you see a technology, you watch this episode and think, hey, I know of something interesting that should be on the show, reach out to us. Let us know. We'd love to feature another company soon. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see you on the next episode of Mining Now.